Ray Dalio is the founder of Bridgewater, the multi-billion-dollar hedge fund that famously anticipated the financial crisis of 2008. In Principles, he takes us through the story of his life and how he turns to the principles that drove him to success. These principles are built for anyone who wants to have an open mind and achieve a goal, whether that goal is becoming a couch potato, bodybuilder, founder, parent, CEO, or anything else. The idea is that as long as you clearly know what your goals are, aim high, set yourself up by learning from people who can help you advance toward your goals, as well as work effectively with others, you can achieve what you've set out. Along the way, Ray Dalio shares his personal stories and principles but invites readers to question them, with the hope that his principles will serve as a guide to help people in being clearer about their own. When the author was working on a research project to better understand worldwide bond markets, he really saw how differently each project member saw the project, their peers, and themselves. Calling the meetings painful, he details how no one really understood their strengths and weaknesses. The conceptual people felt that they were more literal. The more literal people felt they were conceptual, and it just resulted in a pile of opinions that couldn't be systematized. This inefficiency led Dalio to take a closer look at neuroscience and share his next principle, the need to understand how you and other people are mentally wired whenever you set out to do something new. People are quick to jump to the conclusion that poor communication is a problem in groups, but sometimes it's a different way of thinking that leads to this poor communication. Instead of getting frustrated at other people because of their behavior and choices, it's more effective for everyone to try and better understand themselves. To do this, Dalio uses a tool at Bridgewater called baseball cards. Every person has attributes that can help and hurt them. They have things they are good at and things they are bad at. Dalio had members of his teams evaluate one another based on general descriptive adjectives, their actions, and their personality traits. Although people are skeptical at first, this is one of the tools that nearly everyone agrees is integral for the teams at Bridgewater. One important thing to understand in neuroscience is that the lower parts of the brain are the oldest parts in terms of evolution. These parts that make up the lower region control our breathing and heartbeat, as well as help us control our movements. They are the home of habits and emotional responses. As you move upward to newer parts of the brain, you'll find the neocortex, the part of the brain where learning, planning, and other so-called higher-level thoughts are carried out. Inside our brains, there is a battle raging on for control. The decisions we make are often driven by habits and the subconscious, but it's worth trying to examine the subconscious thoughts we get and reflecting on them with our conscious minds. Our feelings and our thinking are often at odds, but those who achieve the goals they've set out regularly stop to consider the causes of the emotional hijacking. Not every part of the brain can be changed, but by working to understand the brain, choosing which habits to build and remove, learning to think in new ways is absolutely possible. Finally, if you're looking to better understand the people that you hire, psychometric assessments, such as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, are an important tool in understanding people as a supplement to speaking to them personally. There is a lot that goes into the decisions that people make. Much of it is subconscious and difficult to understand. However, there are several universal rules that people can follow to make good decisions. 1. Harmful emotions get in the way of good decision making. 2. Learn first and then decide. Make sure you ask questions from people that are well-informed and believable. Everyone has an opinion, but be careful not to confuse them with facts. Sometimes it helps to step away from what's going on in that moment and look at the big picture. Things can feel bigger or even overwhelming if we don't have perspective. When you're looking for information, choose great and proven over new. 3. Look at the situation of outcomes over time. Try to focus on patterns of events and examine how they change over time. Also, consider the level at hand. Improvement is great, but you should have a sufficient benchmark. If you're getting 10% good feedback on a product test, that's not good. 30% positive feedback is a definite improvement, but it's still not enough to make your new product a hit. Use approximations to help you not to get stuck in numbers. Live by the 80/20 rule to understand what your 20% is. This will help you to focus on the big picture, not the unnecessary details. 4. Understand and navigate levels effectively. If you look at an impressionist painting from afar, you'll see the big picture. Get too close, and you'll find new details, but you may lose sight of the overall image. Reality has many levels, each with fascinating and valuable perspectives. Think about these levels and identify which level is most appropriate when the time comes to make a decision. 5. Logic, reasoning, and common sense are the best tools in your kit. Research shows that most people follow their lower-level brains most of the time. Successful organizations value evidence-based decision-making. 6. Look at decisions as value calculations. Raise your probability of being right, even if your odds are already pretty good. You can significantly improve your track record if you only make the bets that you are confident will pay off. Every decision likely has pros and cons. Don't seek out choices that have zero cons, but weigh your decision based on all the benefits and drawbacks. Look for those that have far more pros than cons. 7. Additional info versus no decision. One decision may be better when made immediately. With others, you may benefit or improve your odds by waiting to gather more info. Prioritize your must-dos over your like-to-dos and don't confuse the two. Handle the important things first. Finally, realize that everything is possible, but what is probable matters most. Practical thinking is a valuable skill. 8. Simplify and discard the details that aren't relevant. 9. Slow down your thinking and use your principles. 10. Believability. Weight your decision making. Involve experts and know who to listen to. 11. Turn your principles into algorithms and let the computer decide alongside you. A computer alter ego and human decision making are more powerful together than going about a decision by yourself. But don't place all your trust in AI if you don't have a deep understanding of the technology. Independent thinkers can form their principles by reflecting on their past mistakes, which is precisely what the author has done. As an investor, he has tried to minimize failure with an approach to decision-making, which includes believability. Weighing decisions. Believing you're right all the time is dangerous. Get input and perspectives from other people and choose insights that are most believable. Operating by clear principles. Every time you make a decision, reflect on your principles and write down your criteria for decision-making. Systemizing decision-making. Using algorithms to put decision-making criteria into computers, which are capable of making decisions faster and without emotion. The first is to have clear goals. These goals determine your direction. Prioritize your goals because you can't have it all at once. Choose the best alternatives and live with the fact that there is no perfection. Separate goals from desires, because the desire to take a vacation every month may get in the way of your goal to save money for a home. You'll find true fulfillment in reconciling your goals and desires and doing the things that feel right on both levels. Aim high with your goals. Don't rule out a goal that seems too audacious. Be brave and go for it. Be flexible, hold yourself accountable, and realize that there will be setbacks. Being able to make the best possible choices to overcome obstacles is equally as important as knowing how to move forward in the first place. The second step is to identify the problems you face and don't accept them. Even though it doesn't feel like it, look at issues as potential improvements. Don't avoid problems, but stay calm and try to identify the problems as precisely as possible. Invest your time in the big problems to get the greatest returns, but spend just enough time with the small problems to ensure they aren't just symptoms of a larger problem. Don't tolerate your problems, but use your will to solve them and succeed. The third step is to understand the root causes of your problems. Don't jet instantly from finding the problem to suggesting solutions. Take between 15 minutes and an hour to diagnose the issue and determine the root causes. Talk to the people involved and examine the evidence. Thinking analytically about the issues that you are having allows you to be objective about the causes and the possible consequences that could occur with different solutions. The fourth step is to design a plan to get around your problems. Think about what happened that led you to the present. Visualize what you'll need to do as an individual or team to reach your goals in the future. Think of your problem as a machine and consider how it can be fixed to create better outcomes. Realize that there is more than one path to achieving a goal. All you need to do is find one that works. Designing a plan doesn't require a lot of time. Several hours, days, or weeks is enough, but it's an essential process that's worth spending time on. The fifth and final step is to push through to completion, in other words, execute. Establish metrics to ensure you're sticking to the plan and work well. Don't let problems and weaknesses get you down. They are nothing to worry about if you can find solutions that will help you push through. Finally, keep in mind that it's impossible to be fully objective about yourself, so the habit or skill of asking other people for input is an incredible asset. Stay humble and keep an open mind or risk getting stuck in one place. Principles are the truths that people run their lives by. They explain why people behave the way they do and how they approach getting what they want. Because each person is very different from the next, that means we each have different principles, and that's fine. However, the problem is that, by and large, people don't communicate their principles clearly. If we all shared our principles, a lot of problems could be prevented, especially when it comes to relationships. In work relationships, the problem of unclear principles is compounded, because shared principles are what allow a business to be successful. Look at life as a process of setting audacious goals, failing, learning from those failures, and refining your principles, then setting the even more audacious goals with even better information at hand. Emotions are real, but they can interfere with logic when it's time to make a decision. That's why it's important to accept reality. Try to understand it and work with it, not against it. Everyone has a different idea of what a successful life looks like. Choose your dreams wisely, realistically, then use your determination to go after them. That's the path to success. Truth is another essential element. Many people avoid seeing the truth if it doesn't align with what they want. That's a dangerous approach. Instead, invest effort into being open-minded and transparent. Don't fear what other people think. Instead, be open and learn from others' opinions of you. Look at cause and effect relationships and how you are a part of them. By looking at life as a machine, and yourself as a machine within that machine, you can start to see these relationships more objectively. Arguably, the hardest part of this is recognizing and accepting your own weaknesses. Embracing reality includes looking at consequences. Most people put too much emphasis on first-order consequences and don't pay attention to second- and third-order consequences. For example, certain food may taste good, that's a first-order consequence. That same food may make you gain weight or cause severe health problems down the line. Consider these latter consequences in your effort to decide what you really want. Don't focus on what's out of your control. Make decisions that will optimize your outcomes given the circumstances that you're in. This is how even someone with a grave disease can be balanced and happy because they're really making the most of what they have. Focus on getting what you want without getting hung up on the situation at hand. However, it's worth the effort, because denial only serves to put you in a loop of pain and no progress. Don't be afraid to ask others for help. Try to seek out people who are strong in the areas that you are weak. There are two things that prevent most people from getting what they want: their ego and their blind spots. These keep people from looking at circumstances, truth, and decisions with an objective eye. The ego is what makes it so difficult to accept weaknesses and mistakes. We fear not mattering and not being loved. The emotional self or the lower-level brain reacts to criticism as a personal attack, and we immediately get defensive. Meanwhile, the high-level brain realizes it would make more sense to ask questions and understand the other person's perspective. Sometimes the lower-level brain wins, but you need to concentrate on battling the need to be right all the time. Focus on discovering the truth. Blind spots are the things we can't see accurately because of our way of thinking. If we don't see something, it's impossible to appreciate it. It's the reason why two people can argue all day with both sides convinced that they're right. It's not logical to reach two opposite conclusions. Someone has to be wrong. If you find yourself in a similar disagreement, it only makes sense to find out whether or not that person is you. That's why it's incredibly important to actively try and benefit from others' thinking and try to see new things that we cannot see on our own. Approach conversations in a way that makes it clear you want to understand. Ask questions, speak calmly, and don't allow emotions to take over, and encourage the other party to do the same. Disagreement is not conflict, but the brain is likely to confuse the two. That's why having calm exchanges is a skill that takes time to learn, but one that truly pays off. Other tips you can use are to foster discussions that you can observe and learn from. Encourage two or more experts to engage in dialogue and listen and learn from their thoughtful disagreement. Also, learn to distinguish open-minded people from close-minded people. Do everything you can to help others be evidence-based and open-minded. And consider using evidence-based decision-making tools to automate the process of making decisions without the risk of emotions taking over. It's not a simple process, and it takes time and practice. But if you're ready to look for truth and find out if your behavior may be preventing you from reaching your goals, becoming radically open-minded can help you. Don't focus on how things should be, but on how they really are. Look to nature. Reflect on the fact that humans and their accomplishments are bound to physical laws that govern all life on Earth. Evolution is a consistent element of nature, and that includes human nature. People, nations, economies, and organizations that aren't prepared to self-correct and evolve will be replaced. It's because of evolution that constantly improving is human instinct. Individuals, in nature, each have their own self-interest, yet groups and species are continually evolving as a whole. Even if something in nature, for example, a rainy day, isn't what a person wants personally, it's possible to see how that something is very positive for the group as a whole. Getting better, learning about oneself, and evolving to improve leads to lasting returns. Difficulties and pain are part of the journey, but reflecting on that pain will strengthen you and spur progress. Don't avoid the pain, but instead embrace the learning experience.